Ever driven a car so bulletproof it could outlast your grandchildren? Meet the 1994 Toyota Corolla. Its engine powered a Cairo taxi for 500,000 kilometers, equivalent to 12 trips around Earth. This isn't just economy transport. It's a testament to engineering immortality. Ready to discover 15 legendary machines that laughed at time itself? From unstoppable Land Cruisers to precision-built Civics, each packed with engines designed to run forever. These automotive legends prove that true greatness isn't about flashy features. It's about bulletproof reliability that turns skeptics into believers. Buckle up for a nostalgic ride through mechanical perfection that'll keep you hooked till the final mile. Let's roll. Number 15. Honda Civic, 1992 to 1995. When Honda unleashed the fifth-generation Civic in 1992, they weren't just building a compact car, they were crafting a legend. This was the era when Japanese manufacturers were perfecting their reputation for bulletproof reliability, and the Civic became their poster child. The heart of this timeless machine was its D-Series engine, a marvel of simplicity and durability. Whether you had the 1.5-liter D15B7 or the legendary 1.6-liter D16Z6 with VTEC, these engines were engineered to outlast their owners. The aluminum construction kept weight down while ensuring longevity that would make modern cars jealous. One proud owner of a 1992 Honda Civic VX had covered an astonishing 301,000 miles, with the car needing nothing more than basic maintenance. What makes this generation truly special is its simplicity. No complex electronics to fail, no turbos to explode, just honest engineering that rewards regular maintenance with decades of faithful service. A Honda engineer once remarked during development testing, "We're not just building a car for today's buyer, we're building it for their children." That philosophy shines through in every bolt and gasket. While modern cars dazzle with features, the 92 to 95 Civic reminds us that sometimes the most profound innovation is simply building something that works and keeps working. Number 14. Toyota Corolla, 1993 to 1997. The seventh-generation Toyota Corolla arrived in 1993 with a mission: prove that economy doesn't have to mean disposable. When other manufacturers were cutting corners to hit price points, Toyota doubled down on quality, creating what many consider the most reliable compact car ever built. Under the hood lived the legendary 4AFE engine, a 1.8-liter naturally aspirated four-cylinder that epitomized Toyota's engineering philosophy. Cast iron block, aluminum head, and a timing chain that seemed to last forever. This engine didn't just run, it thrived on neglect. Stories abound of Corollas from this era hitting 400,000 miles, with nothing more than oil changes. The secret to its longevity lies in its conservative engineering. While competitors chased horsepower numbers, Toyota focused on thermal efficiency and mechanical harmony. The 4AFE produces a modest 115 horsepower, but it does so with internal stress levels that allow components to last indefinitely. One particularly memorable story comes from a taxi driver in Cairo who purchased a 1994 Corolla New and drove it for 18 years straight, clocking over 350,000 miles before finally retiring it, not because it broke down, but because his son wanted something newer. When mechanics inspected the engine, they found compression readings still within factory specifications. Number 13. Mazda Miata, 1989 to 1997. When Mazda introduced the MX-5 Miata in 1989, skeptics wondered if a small, lightweight sports car could survive in the real world. 3 decades later, the answer roars down winding roads worldwide. The first-generation Miata wasn't just a sports car, it was a love letter to driving purity. The heart of the NA Miata was its 1.6-liter B6ZE engine, later upgraded to the 1.8-liter BP in 1994. These naturally aspirated four-cylinders were masterpieces of balanced engineering. The B6ZE produced 116 horsepower from 1.6 liters, while the BP bumped that to 131 horsepower. Neither was particularly powerful, but both were virtually indestructible. What makes these cars truly special is their ability to be driven hard without braking. The B6ZE and BP engines love to rev, and owners who regularly take them to 7,000 RPM often report better longevity than those who baby them. The aluminum head and iron block construction provides excellent thermal characteristics. One remarkable story involves a track day enthusiast who bought a 1990 Miata with 89,000 miles and proceeded to drive it hard at racetracks for 12 years. When he finally sold it at 267,000 miles, the only engine work required was a timing belt replacement and valve adjustment. The Miata proves that longevity isn't about conservative engineering. It's about correct engineering. Number 12. Subaru Legacy, 1989 to 1994. The first-generation Subaru Legacy emerged in 1989 as Japan's answer to the European sports sedan, but it became something far more significant, proof that all-wheel drive could be both reliable and practical. When other manufacturers were still figuring out how to make AWD systems that didn't explode, Subaru was quietly perfecting a formula. The star of the show was the EJ22 engine, a 2.2-liter horizontally opposed four-cylinder that would become the foundation of Subaru's reputation for reliability. Unlike the more complex turbocharged engines that would follow, the EJ22 was naturally aspirated, simple, and virtually bulletproof. It produced 130 horsepower and 137 pound-feet of torque. The Boxer engine's horizontally opposed design provided inherent balance that reduced vibration and stress on internal components. The aluminum heads and iron block construction offered excellent thermal characteristics, while the simple port fuel injection system was easy to maintain and repair. A particularly compelling story involves a Forest Service ranger in Colorado who bought a 1991 Legacy wagon new and drove it for 23 years through some of the harshest conditions imaginable. Mountain roads, winter storms, and constant duty hauling equipment through remote areas. When he finally retired the car at 387,000 miles, the original engine was still running strong, and the AWD system had never required major service. Number 11. Mercedes-Benz 300e, 1986 to 1995. The Mercedes-Benz W124-300e represents the pinnacle of German engineering from an era when Mercedes-Benz built cars like they were constructing monuments. Introduced in 1986, this sedan wasn't just luxurious. It was engineered to survive the apocalypse while delivering first-class comfort. The heart of the 300e was the M103 engine, a 3.0-liter inline-six that epitomized Mercedes-Benz's engineering philosophy. This wasn't just an engine, it was a precision instrument, with a cast-iron block that could withstand nuclear winter and an aluminum head that dissipated heat like a radiator fin. The single overhead cam design was deliberately simple, trading complexity for reliability. What made the M103 truly special was its conservative tuning. Producing 177 horsepower from 3 liters, it was never stressed, never strained, and never asked to do more than it was designed for. The result was an engine that could easily surpass 300,000 miles without major service. One of the most remarkable stories involves a German taxi driver who purchased a 1988 300e and drove it for 15 years as a daily taxi. When he finally sold it at 420,000 miles, the engine had never been opened, the transmission had never been rebuilt, and the car still rode like new. The 300e reminds us that true luxury isn't about features, it's about quality so profound that it becomes invisible. Number 10. Jeep Cherokee XJ, 1984 to 2001. The Jeep Cherokee XJ arrived in 1984 and proceeded to redefine what a capable, reliable SUV could be. For 17 years, this boxy, purposeful machine proved that utility doesn't have to mean unreliable. When other manufacturers were still trying to figure out how to make SUVs that didn't break down, Jeep was quietly perfecting a formula. The secret weapon was the AMC-designed 4.0-liter inline-six engine, internally known as the 242. This iron block power plant produced 190 horsepower and 225 pound-feet of torque. But those numbers only tell part of the story. The 4.0-liter was engineered with 1960s simplicity and 1980s precision, creating an engine that could run forever on minimal maintenance. The cast-iron block was thick enough to serve as a boat anchor, with cylinder walls that wore so slowly that many engines never needed boring. The aluminum head featured a simple single-cam design with 2 valves per cylinder. Nothing fancy, but nothing to break either. Stories of high-mileage Cherokees are legion, but one stands out: a park ranger in Utah who bought a 1991 Cherokee new and drove it for 22 years through some of the most challenging terrain in America: desert heat, mountain snow, and constant off-road duty. When he finally sold it at 312,000 miles, the original engine was still running strong, and the 4-wheel drive system had never failed. The Cherokee XJ proves that sometimes the best engineering is the simplest. Number 9. Volvo 240, 1974 to 1993. The Volvo 240 isn't just a car, it's a monument to Swedish engineering philosophy. Produced for nearly 2 decades, this angular, purposeful sedan and wagon embodied everything Volvo stood for: safety, reliability, and the kind of build quality that makes modern cars seem like toys. When you see a 240 still prowling the streets today, you're witnessing automotive immortality in its purest form. The heart of the 240 was the legendary B230F engine, a 2.3-liter inline-4 that redefined what longevity could mean. This wasn't just reliable, it was transcendent. The cast-iron block was thick enough to serve as a building foundation, while the aluminum head provided excellent thermal characteristics. The single overhead cam design was deliberately simple, prioritizing durability over complexity. What made the B230F truly special was its conservative tuning. Producing 114 horsepower from 2.3 liters, it was never stressed, never strained, and never asked to work harder than it was designed for. The result was an engine that could easily surpass 300,000 miles without major service, with many examples pushing toward 500,000 miles. One of the most famous stories involves American automotive journalist Irv Gordon, who drove his Volvo P1800 with a similar engine family over 3 million miles. A common refrain among 240 owners is that these cars don't break down. They just keep running until something catastrophic happens that's cheaper to walk away from than fix. Number 8. Toyota Camry, 1992 to 1996. The third-generation Toyota Camry arrived in 1992 with a mission: prove that a family sedan could be both sophisticated and bulletproof. When other manufacturers were cutting corners to hit price points, Toyota was quietly perfecting a formula that would make the Camry America's best-selling sedan for decades. The star of the show was the 5SFE engine, a 2.2-liter 4-cylinder that epitomized Toyota's engineering philosophy. This all-aluminum power plant produced 130 horsepower and 145 pound-feet of torque, but those numbers only tell part of the story. The 5SFE was engineered with Toyota's legendary attention to detail, featuring a timing belt that was easy to replace and a port fuel injection system that was simple and robust. What made this generation truly special was its perfect balance of engineering conservatism and modern technology. The engine featured an aluminum block and head construction that provided excellent thermal characteristics while keeping weight down. The dual overhead cam design provided good breathing while maintaining simplicity. One particularly compelling story involves a traveling salesman who bought a 1994 Camry new and drove it for 18 years across the American West. Mountain passes, desert heat, and constant highway miles. When he finally sold it at 287,000 miles, the original engine was still running strong, and the automatic transmission had never required service beyond fluid changes. The third-generation Camry proves that excellence doesn't have to be expensive or complicated. Number 7. Honda Accord, 1990 to 1993. The fourth-generation Honda Accord represented a pivotal moment in automotive history. Launched in 1990, this was Honda's declaration that Japanese engineering had reached full maturity. When European manufacturers were still struggling with reliability issues, Honda was quietly perfecting a formula that would make the Accord legendary among those who appreciated engineering excellence. The heart of this generation was the F22A engine, a 2.2-liter naturally aspirated four-cylinder that showcased Honda's mastery of internal combustion engineering. This wasn't just reliable, it was transcendent. The aluminum block and head construction provided excellent thermal characteristics while keeping weight down, and the single overhead cam design was simple enough to service but sophisticated enough to provide excellent performance. What made the F22A truly special was its ability to reward enthusiast driving while maintaining family car reliability. The engine featured Honda's signature high-revving character, with a redline of 6,800 RPM that it could reach repeatedly without complaint. The port fuel injection system was precise and responsive, while the electronic ignition was simple and robust. One of the most remarkable stories involves a Honda engineer who bought a 1991 Accord new and drove it for 20 years as both a daily driver and a testbed for new ideas. When he finally sold it at 298,000 miles, the original engine was still running strong, and the manual transmission was still as smooth as the day it was built. The fourth-generation Accord reminds us that true engineering excellence isn't about complexity. It's about getting the fundamentals right. Number 6. Nissan Maxima, 1989 to 1994. The third-generation Nissan Maxima arrived in 1989 with a bold proclamation. It was a four-door sports car. While that might have sounded like marketing hyperbole, the Maxima backed up its claims with engineering that would prove its worth over the next 3 decades. This wasn't just a family sedan with sporting pretensions. It was a genuine performance machine. The star of the show was the VE30DE engine, a 3.0-liter V6 that represented Nissan's engineering at its absolute peak. This naturally aspirated power plant produced 160 horsepower and 182 pound-feet of torque. But those numbers only told part of the story. The VE30DE was engineered with an attention to detail that would make Swiss watchmakers envious, featuring an aluminum block and heads that provided excellent thermal characteristics. What made the VE30DE truly special was its sophisticated engineering hidden beneath a simple exterior. The dual overhead cam design provided excellent breathing, while the electronic fuel injection was advanced for its time. The engine featured a timing belt that was easy to replace and a port fuel injection system that was both precise and robust. One particularly compelling story involves a highway patrol officer who drove a 1991 Maxima for 12 years in high-speed pursuit duty. The car saw constant hard acceleration, high-speed running, and the kind of abuse that would destroy lesser vehicles. When he finally retired it at 234,000 miles, the original engine was still running strong. The third-generation Maxima proves that performance and reliability aren't mutually exclusive. Number 5. BMW E33 Series, 1982 to 1994. The BMW E33 series represents the golden age of BMW engineering, a time when the company's motto, "the ultimate driving machine," wasn't just marketing speak, but a genuine philosophy that guided every engineering decision. Produced from 1982 to 1994, the E30 proved that a car could be both a precision instrument and a reliable daily driver. The heart of the most desirable E30s was the M20 engine, a 2.5-liter inline-six that epitomized BMW's approach to power plant engineering. This naturally aspirated engine produced 168 horsepower in its most common 325i configuration. But power was just one part of the story. The M20 was engineered with the kind of precision that made it feel like a mechanical Swiss watch. What made the M20 truly special was its combination of performance and durability. The cast iron block provided excellent thermal mass and durability, while the aluminum head kept weight down and provided excellent thermal characteristics. The Bosch Matronic fuel injection system was sophisticated for its time, providing precise fuel delivery while remaining simple enough to service. One of the most famous stories involves a BMW engineer who bought a 1987 325i new and drove it for 18 years as both a daily driver and a weekend track car. The car saw regular track duty at the Nürburgring and other European circuits, yet when he finally sold it at 267,000 miles, the original engine was still running strong. The E30 reminds us that true engineering excellence isn't about features, it's about creating a machine that becomes an extension of the driver. Number 4. Ford F-150, 1987 to 1996. The ninth-generation Ford F-150 represented American truck engineering at its most refined and reliable. Launched in 1987, this generation proved that American manufacturers could build trucks that were both capable and dependable. When import manufacturers were making inroads into the truck market with promises of reliability, Ford answered with a pickup that would become legendary. The star of the lineup was the 300 cubic inch 4.9-liter inline-six, an engine that epitomized the American approach to power plant engineering. This wasn't sophisticated. It was something better. It was absolutely bulletproof. The cast-iron block and head construction provided durability that would make modern engines weep with envy, while the simple port fuel injection system was robust and easily serviceable. What made the 300 inline-six truly special was its torque production and durability. Producing 145 horsepower and 265 pound-feet of torque, it wasn't particularly powerful, but it delivered its power in a way that made it perfect for truck duty. The long-stroke design provided excellent low-end torque, while the simple push-rod valve train was easy to service and virtually indestructible. One particularly compelling story involves a construction contractor who bought a 1989 F-150 new and drove it for 16 years, hauling heavy loads across the American Southwest. The truck saw constant towing duty, desert heat, and the kind of abuse that comes with commercial use. When he finally sold it at 278,000 miles, the original engine was still running strong. The ninth-generation F-150 proves that American engineering could produce vehicles that were both capable and reliable. Number 3. Acura Integra, 1986 to 1993. The first-generation Acura Integra arrived in 1986 as Honda's answer to European luxury sports coupes, but it became something far more significant. Proof that Japanese engineering had reached a level of sophistication that could rival anything from Europe while maintaining the reliability that was becoming Japan's calling card. The heart of the Integra was the D16A1 engine, a 1.6-liter four-cylinder that showcased Honda's mastery of high-revving power plant engineering. This naturally aspirated engine produced 113 horsepower and 99 pound-feet of torque, but those numbers only told part of the story. The D16A1 was engineered with Honda's signature attention to detail, featuring an aluminum head and iron block construction. What made the D16A1 truly special was its ability to reward enthusiast driving while maintaining bulletproof reliability. The engine featured Honda's signature high-revving character, with a red line of 6,800 RPM that it could reach repeatedly without complaint. The port fuel injection system was precise and responsive, while the electronic ignition was simple and robust. One Honda enthusiast bought a 1988 Integra new and drove it for 19 years as both a daily driver and a weekend autocross car. The car saw regular competition duty, yet when he finally sold it at 267,000 miles, the original engine was still running strong. The first-generation Integra reminds us that true luxury isn't about features. It's about quality so profound that it becomes invisible. Number 2. Lexus LS 400, 1989 to 1994. The original Lexus LS 400 didn't just enter the luxury car market, it redefined it. Launched in 1989, this flagship sedan represented Toyota's most ambitious project, creating a car that could outclass the best from Germany while maintaining Japanese reliability. The result was a machine so well engineered that it made established luxury manufacturers scramble to catch up. The heart of the LS 400 was the 1UZFE engine, a 4.0-liter V8 that represented the pinnacle of Toyota's engineering expertise. This all-aluminum power plant produced 250 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque, but those numbers only told part of the story. The 1UZFE was engineered with tolerances so tight that it made Swiss watches seem sloppy, featuring forged internals and precision that was absolutely breathtaking. What made the 1UZFE truly special was its combination of sophistication and reliability. The dual overhead cam design provided excellent breathing, while the electronic fuel injection was advanced for its time. The engine featured a timing belt that was easy to replace, and a port fuel injection system that was both precise and robust. One automotive journalist bought a 1996 LS 400 with over 200,000 miles specifically to test its longevity. The car continued to run flawlessly, eventually surpassing 300,000 miles while maintaining its original refinement. Even at high mileage, the engine ran so smoothly that it was difficult to tell it was running. The original LS 400 proves that true luxury isn't about prestige, it's about quality so profound that it becomes invisible. Number 1. Toyota Land Cruiser, 1991 to 1997. The FJ80. Toyota Land Cruiser represents the absolute pinnacle of automotive durability. Launched in 1991, this wasn't just a vehicle, it was a testament to Toyota's ability to build machines that could survive anything the world could throw at them. When humanitarian organizations, military forces, and adventure seekers needed a vehicle that absolutely, positively had to start every time, they chose the Land Cruiser. The heart of the FJ80 was the legendary 1FZFE engine, a 4.5-liter inline-six that epitomized Toyota's approach to power plant engineering. This naturally aspirated engine produced 212 horsepower and 275 pound-feet of torque, but power was just one part of the story. The 1FZFE was engineered with the kind of rugged simplicity that made it virtually indestructible, featuring a cast-iron block and an aluminum head. What made the 1FZFE truly special was its ability to run on virtually any fuel in any condition. The port fuel injection system was simple and robust, while the electronic ignition was designed to work even in the most challenging environments. The engine featured timing belts that were easy to replace and a cooling system that was massively overbuilt. One remarkable story involves a Land Cruiser 80 submerged in a river for over 24 hours during a Sudan flood. When recovered, the team drained the water, changed the oil, and tried starting it. The 1FZFE fired up on the third attempt. A Toyota technician later remarked, "These engines are built with one rule. They must run where a breakdown could be fatal." The FJ80 Land Cruiser proves that true engineering excellence isn't about sophistication. It's about creating something that simply cannot fail. And that's a wrap, folks. From timeless classics to bulletproof legends, we just cruise through automotive history's most enduring survivors. If this journey through mechanical immortality fired up your inner car enthusiast, smash that like button and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into automotive excellence. Got a favorite survivor we missed? Or maybe you're still driving one of these legends? Drop your stories in the comments. We love hearing from fellow car enthusiasts who appreciate when things were built to last. Thanks for rolling with us through this nostalgic cruise. Until next time, keep those classics running and those memories alive.